Hi everybody. Today's video is going to be amazing. It's based on one of my favorite films, Pretty Woman, and it's all about how to get what you want. Um, for those of you that don't know what the film is, it's basically based around a character called Vivian, who plays a prostitute in LA, and a character called Edward, who is played by Richard Gere. So Edward is a high-flying businessman, multi-billionaire, and Julia Roberts is a prostitute in LA. And it's how their lives coincide and how she's able to completely turn her life around to get her dream. And that is what I'm going to be talking to you about, because this can work in any situation, whether it's about a relationship, money, your body, health, career, anything. Before I do that, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon, where I will notify you when I'm posting, which is every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. So yeah, like I said, this is one of my favorite films, and basically Pretty Woman is all about a character called Vivian who plays a prostitute, and she falls into basically that life. It's not what she wants, which doesn't mean that I'm degrading that type of lifestyle at all, but it's not what she actually wants in the film. And she basically accepts where she is, although she has desires for more, and that's recognized primarily in one of the first few scenes, which I'll talk about in a second. And Richard Gere, this high-flying multi-billionaire businessman, basically comes along, and the story basically unfolds. He's showing her that there's more to life than how she's living, and that she's basically worth more than what she's currently doing. And he sees a lot of potential in her, So how does she go from that to getting the dream life that she wants? Basically, if we think about, when I think about the first few scenes, so there was a scene where she walks into a bar where her friend is, who was spent their rent money on drugs. So she's got like no money to pay the rent, and basically says to her friend Kit, gosh, don't you want more for yourself than this? Don't you ever want to get out of here? And that is the first recognition in the story that she doesn't really want to be where she is, and she's, I guess, feeling stuck at that precise moment. But this is number one of how you can start to work towards getting whatever it is that you want in your life, your dream. And number one is acceptance. And what she does is she actually shows up in most of the film just accepting who she is, owning who she is and her life. She doesn't put resistance up against it. She doesn't fight against it. She accepts exactly where she is in her life, even though she knows that she wants more. Even though she knows she wants more and she wants a better life, she accepts who she is, and she accepts exactly how her life is at that moment, knowing that there is something better out there. And that's a massive recognition of her, of the character of the film, for her to get what she wants. Because those of you that know about law of attraction will know that when you put resistance up against things, when you're fighting against what you've got, you're basically creating lack in your life. So if you don't have money and you keep talking about not having money, or you see other people with money and you're jealous of the fact that they've got money, you are creating resistance about more money coming to you. And you're also basically showing the universe that you don't actually have it. And again, those of you that follow the law of attraction, or if you don't know about the law of attraction, the universe basically picks up the vibration on what you think and what you feel. So what you think and what you feel, you attract. So if you're constantly saying that you don't have money, you're going to attract not having money. If you're constantly jealous of other people having money, you're going to attract, you're going to stop yourself from getting money. So your thoughts and your feelings basically create. So what she did in the first instance, she accepted who she was. She accepted where she was in her life. It wasn't exactly where she wanted to be, but she accepted it. And she, even though she had dreams of what she wanted, she was okay accepting where she was there and then. So number one is all about accepting where you are and who you are as a person too. So just moving on from that. So basically throughout the film, so I'm referring to a couple of notes here, throughout the film, she owned herself. She was so confident the majority of the time. Yes, she was a little bit fidgety, and he used to say, stop fidgeting, stand tall, smile, because she was nervous, because she was being put in environments and in situations that she wasn't used to being in with wealthier people, better dressed people. So she was quite nervous and anxious, and actually I think any one of us would be if we were basically taken from our comfort zone and suddenly kind of put into a different environment. We would all feel a little bit of sense of uncomfortability. But generally throughout the film, she owned it. When people talked to her, she stood up for herself, and she wasn't going to let what people thought about her bring her down. And there were two occasions where she was shot down. One was when she went to shop in Rodeo Drive to get a dress, and they wouldn't serve her. People in the shop wouldn't serve her. They didn't want her there because she was dressed like a prostitute. They didn't want her there. And that, you see her walking down Rodeo Drive before she goes into the shop, and she is confident, she's owning it. She doesn't care what she's wearing. She does not care. She's being looked at. She doesn't care because she's owning it and she accepts who she is. But when she was confronted with people not wanting her in the shop because of the way she dressed, that obviously took a blow to her confidence. And there was another scene where Richard Gere, playing the character Edward, who told his friend that she was a prostitute, told her about her background. And the friend went up to her and basically made her feel uncomfortable in an environment that she wasn't used to being in the first place. So that was really tough for her as well. But on both occasions, not only did she stand up for herself, eventually, because she went back to the shop the next day and went, big mistake, big, huge, because they work on commission and she'd just been shopping, shopping. She stood up for herself. And the same with the polo incident, where the guy was basically trying to come on to her. And she stood up for herself, but did it in a way where she said what she wanted to say. She did it, done. And she got an apology as well. And basically it righted itself, and she let it go. She let it go. So the second point that I wanted to make is that she valued herself. Even though her life wasn't the way she wanted it to be, and even though she was putting herself in challenging situations with people that she hadn't hung around with before, even though she was faced with some cruel behavior for some people, she valued herself, she stood up for herself, and she did not dwell in what had happened with these couple of occasions that had showed up that had made her upset. So she was real. She showed up authentically, owning who she was. And that is when you value yourself, when you truly value who you are, you can be who you are, no matter what situation. And yes, it's okay to feel down if you've been attacked by somebody or hurt by somebody, but it's how you bounce back and how you respond to that. So we have number one is acceptance. Number two is that she valued who she was, and she stood up for herself as well. So looking at point number three, basically throughout the story and valuing herself, she was able to, not only that, she was able to be real. I mean, when she was with, there was a scene where she's in the bath with Richard Gere, Edward, the character, and they're just talking, and he's talking about the therapy and everything, and these are people that barely knew each other, like maybe 2 days before, and she's so comfortable in her own skin. She's so authentic and has this natural, really nice vulnerability about her, that she'll basically enable you to just open up to be your true self, because she shows up as her true self as well. So point number 3 is that she was authentic. She allowed herself to be who she was, no matter what. So we've got acceptance, we have value, and it's being authentic. But with that authenticity, before I forget to mention, she wasn't bothered about the outcome. She still knew what her dreams were. We didn't at that point in the film. We didn't know what her actual dream was in the film. But she basically showed up authentically without any attachment to the outcome. And even though there's a part of the film that basically when he asks her to stay for the week, she says, I'm going to treat you so nice, baby, you're never going to want to let me go. And he says, Vivian, 1 week, and I will let you go. And she just lets that go. She doesn't think he's going to kick me out at the end of it and that's it, and they're going to have a crap time. She just goes with it, and she enjoys the journey without any attachment at all. So that is point number 3. Now, going on to point number 4, she Edward basically told her that he, towards the end of the week, that he wanted to continue to see her, but on his terms. And he said, I've got a condo lined up for you. I'm going to have all the shops under the sun suck up to you whenever you want. And she's like, whoa, hang on a sec. Yeah, maybe a few months ago, I might have been that girl that accepted that that's what was going to happen, and you were just pop in and out of my life as you saw fit. But I'm not that girl now. So she respectfully declined his kind gesture of the condo and unlimited shopping because she had found her worth. She had found her worth. She had set some boundaries. She'd started creating a dream that she wanted, and she wasn't going to settle. And she'd actually told him the night before that she loved him. But she was not going to settle for anything less than what she now knew that she deserved and wanted. And she tells a story about her dream fairy tale of what she wants from a man. And basically, so number 4 is basically her worth. She found her worth. She knew exactly what she would and wouldn't accept. She had some healthy boundaries. She knew that walking away from somebody that she'd actually fallen in love with and that could, look after her was not enough for her anymore. It was all or nothing. So number 4 was finding her worth. Now, number 5, this is the exciting bit. So her dream was basically when she basically talks about the dream of the fairy tale relationship that she's looking for, and she's had that dream since she was a little girl. And along her journey of life, she basically lost her way and would always go after the guys that didn't treat her particularly well. But now she'd got to a stage where it wasn't actually about relationships. It was about her and her needs and her desires, about going back to school as well and getting her grades and making something more of herself because she believed in herself. She had her worth again. But the relationship was also a part of that. So she basically leaves at the end of the week, and Edward, or Richard Gere, he stops her. He doesn't want her to leave. She was like, no, I'm going to go. So she leaves. He's a bit in pieces by it, and you can see throughout the end of the film he's really contemplating you know, his thoughts about her. And she's packing up, and she's basically telling her friend who she lived with that she's leaving, she's moving back home, she's going to go back to school. And through this time, what she was able to do to show Richard Gere was that, you know, she respected herself, she valued herself, she was confident enough, she knew what she wanted, she showed up vulnerably, she was authentic, she was true to herself, she didn't let things get her down. She was open, she was easy to be around. And through giving him space, by not begging him or asking him to change his mind, she was like, well, if that's what you can offer, that's fine, but that's not enough for me, so I'm off. He was able to see her more for what she was, even more so for what she was. And by her standing her ground and saying, no, I'm not staying another night, I am going, that giving him space to miss her and to know what his life could be like with her. But he already knew what his life would be like without her, because he had lived that life, and he clearly hadn't been happy because he had ex-girlfriends and ex-wives and, you know, these other women that didn't really have much emotion throwing themselves at him. So step number 5 was she was true to her conviction, and she gave him space and let go and just carried on moving forwards in her journey. So he then comes after her, in a nutshell, the next day with flowers, rescuing her, and she rescues him right back. And it's a lovely ending, but it's how she managed to get that. So going through the steps again, number 1, she accepted who she was. She showed up owning who she was authentically, and she accepted how her life was, knowing that there was more out there for her and that she had desires for more. She accepted where she was. So there was no resistance. She didn't create any lack, number 1. Number 2, she valued herself and was not scared to show up as her true, authentic, vulnerable self. Number 3, she detached from the outcome. Even when he said, Vivian, 1 week and I will let you go, she was like, well, I'm here now, I'm going to have as much fun as I can. And she did. And she enjoyed herself. She went with the flow. Like when you flow down river, it's nice and easy. When you turn up river and you're trying to paddle through it and fight it, it's a lot harder. So she was detached from the outcome. Didn't matter what was going to happen. She was just going to enjoy herself. Number 4, she found her worth. And she set some healthy boundaries for herself to follow her dreams. And number 5, she created space for him to miss her. She created space for him to think that she actually did mean it. You know, she wasn't going to settle for this offer that I'm sure a lot of people would have accepted. And she knew her worth. So yeah, she created space for him to have time away from her to realize what it would be like without her. And hey, presto, they are the 5 steps of getting what you want. So you can put those steps into any scenario and just change the situation. So if it's about money, it's accepting where you are with money and accepting who you are as a person. It's valuing yourself, and it's being vulnerable and authentic. It's showing up, knowing what you want, but accepting where you are. It's detaching yourself from the outcome, knowing that you want that money, but knowing that that money isn't quite there yet, but just enjoying that journey for that money to flow to you nice and easy. It's having that worth and setting boundaries. So instead of going for the, I'm just going to pick figures here, £5,000 a year job, you're going for the £50,000 a year job. You know, you're setting higher standards, you're showing your worth and setting those boundaries. And you're creating space by letting it go. By letting it all go, you're creating space for everything to just come to you as it should. So there you go. That is my synopsis on Pretty Woman and getting what you want, with some law of attraction bits thrown in there too. If you have any questions about this, please feel free to comment below. I love depicting films, and I have done one on Sex and the City as well recently, which I loved. So yeah, there you go. That is how you can go about getting what you want. If you can show up that way, there you go. You got it sussed. Take care. See you soon.